On behalf of the House and Senate Democratic caucuses, I want to thank you all for being here. I'm Representative Scott Inman, the Democratic leader in the State House, and in a moment, Senator Sean Burrage, the Democratic leader in the State Senate, will address the press corps. We just have a few things we'll start out with, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions. From our perspective, we were disappointed in the governor's State of the State address. We were hoping for something akin to a soaring policy speech that would move our state forward. But instead of focusing on policy, what we saw was a focus on politics. This was a speech that was heavy on politics and light on policy. And that's evidenced by many different hypocritical statements that were made throughout her State of the State address today, talking about things like we can't accept federal dollars for Medicaid, even though we've got hospitals on the brink of bankruptcy. We've got nearly 600 to 700,000 people in the state of Oklahoma without any health insurance. She says we can't accept those federal dollars for Medicaid, when she knows full well that the state already accepts $3 billion a year for that same Medicaid program. And then she turns around and in hypocritical action says, but we have to find a way to insure and protect Insure Oklahoma, which takes in roughly $90 million of federal funds anyway. We ask that the governor speak clearly and honestly with the state of Oklahoma and focus on policy that matters to people as opposed to the politics of the day. And because this is an election year, I think we're going to see more and more of those political statements. Things like pushing a tax cut at the same time she says we're fiscally sound and responsible. I think Senator Burrage will get into some numbers here in a minute that'll show something completely different.
When it comes to budget, the governor's talking about a 0.25% tax cut. That's $125 million we're deliberately cutting out of our state budget for the next year. You compound that with the fact that we know we're down at least $171 million this year. That's almost $300 million you're talking out of the state budget. That, to me, is fiscally irresponsible. Yes, she did say that she was going to put $50 million more into education this year, but the schools are $250 million short from where they were in 2008 levels. How can we look at the teachers and tell them to start doing a better job, continue to mandate things upon our teachers and our schools while we give them less and less money? I think it's just fiscally irresponsible. With regard to Medicaid expansion, Representative Inman is exactly right. It's very hypocritical when we start talking about expanding Medicaid. Medicaid is a backbone of our rural healthcare system in the state of Oklahoma. So how can we say the $3 billion that we're taking each year and distributing it to our healthcare system in Oklahoma today is bad, but the $8.6 billion we could get over the next several years, several $100 million a year, is bad? We're basically saying to these working Oklahomans that you 180,000 to 200,000 people, that you could have health insurance, but we're not going to give it to you because it's in the name of ACA or Obamacare. It's not right, and it's very, very hypocritical.
Her words were, we have realigned our spending with the realities of our state. Those are her words. We've realigned our spending with the realities of our state. Well, apparently the governor's idea of realigning our spending means a 22.8% cut to common education, means over a 20% cut to things like corrections and public safety, transportation, and health care. If that is realigning our spending with the realities of the state of Oklahoma, I believe the people of Oklahoma would look at a tax cut which would basically give about $30 to average middle-class families, 40% of whom would receive nothing, but yet the top 1% would see over a $2,000 tax cut. The majority of Oklahomans would say, wait a minute, the realities are education, health care, and public safety need to be funded, not some tax cut for the top 1%.
And I'd also say the governor's speech mentioned the state of North Dakota. If you look at the data, the state of North Dakota is number one in the nation for increasing spending on education, where we're dead last. They go 23% more spending on education, we're 23% less. So if we want to be like North Dakota, let's be like North Dakota and increase and actually fund education. I was not surprised by the tax cut. It's more the same. She didn't mention any triggers in the tax cut, just a flat 0.25%. So, I mean, that's money we just know we're going to lose over time.
Senator, did you find any place where you did agree with the governor, you or Representative Inman?
Well, I mean, I agree with we need to have more college graduates, anything we can do to do that. But at the same time, it appears, unless I heard wrong, that higher education is going to get a 5% cut this year because the only increase in funding I heard was for K through 12. So I do agree we need more college graduates, and I do agree we need a healthier Oklahomans. But we're not going to put the money into it. I guess what I heard was we're going to tell them to live healthier lifestyles and hope that our expenditures for health care go down. That's not happened in the past.
What about on the capital bond issue? Do you agree with her there?
I do agree with her there, and that was an interesting point whenever that was brought up. I think Representative Inman we both applauded, and I think that is the only fiscally responsible thing to do. When you look at the historic low interest rates, if we truly are fiscally responsible, we will go out and bond that money and fix our capital, fully fund the Native American Cultural Center, and in my opinion also fund the OK Pops Museum in Tulsa. The time is right, the money's there, and it's the right thing to do.
When you've got state employees that, if they were listening, basically they were told today that the governor is going to go after their pension plan, basically for new hires, which makes it tougher for the state to hire new folks and to retain them. And she's also not going to offer up a pay raise for the vast majority of folks in the state of Oklahoma. That was the message. If you are someone who is, if you're a state trooper today, if you're a teacher today, if you're a firefighter, if you are involved in state government at all, this was not a good speech for you, because on the whole, most of you are going to take a cut. Even common education, because of the increase in student population, they're looking at a cut. They got $74 million new last year and still took a per pupil expenditure cut, and the governor wants to offer $50 million more this year, which is still going to more than likely cause for a per pupil expenditure cut. So if you truly care about public safety, education, and health care in the state of Oklahoma, and if you dedicate your life to those people who need education, health care, and public safety, today's speech was not a good speech. It was too much politics, worrying about the next election and worrying about the next primary challenge to the right, than it was about good policy.